Anvil and Seo are very similar in that they're both given the worst fates by their respective authors, as both Anvil and Seo are forever cursed to lose their loved ones over and over again. The only difference, aside from the obvious, being the way in which each of them deal with their terrible fates. Anvil, in an attempt to outsmart or overcome this cruel fate, he chooses apathy, severing all his emotional attachments and making himself unapproachable so as not to form any feelings, reasoning to himself that if he loves no one, then there's no loved ones for him to lose. On the opposite side of the spectrum, Seo chooses to embrace every one of his connections, despite being completely aware that all his loved ones will eventually perish, and that he'll have to witness it over and over again, because of the fact that he's a regressor. Yet, despite all of this, Seo still decides to love and embrace all his connections, because as much as it pains him to lose all his loved ones, he also understands that he cannot only see life through his perspective, that there's others who have feelings as well. So out of respect and acknowledgement of the world around him, Seo opens himself up and embraces these connections. Now, within the medium of web novels, Anvil's approach seems to be accepted as the most reasonable approach, with a lot of protagonists similarly subscribing to his frame of thought for one reason or another. If you have good pattern recognition, you'll notice that those who subscribe to this quote-unquote ruthless and cold view of the world are those who usually have a more selfish and egotistic view on life, whereas Seo's approach requires you to be more thoughtful and empathetic of those around you. Not only that, but it also requires you to be vulnerable, opening yourself up to potentially being hurt time and time again. Now, I won't say that Anvil's approach is completely unjustified, because to an extent, shielding yourself from others is a very real coping mechanism for those who have been hurt. But when you make being unfeeling and the avoidance of pain your entire existence, you're cutting yourself off from the rest of the world. When this is your approach to life, in a sense, life kind of loses all meaning, because there's no one you care for, since you're too afraid of opening up. There's nothing that you want to strive for because it's too risky to pursue anything. You basically become a purposeless blob floating through space whose entire existence revolves around being afraid of pain. As badly as it was executed in the novel, it's no wonder that Anvil turned out the mess that he did, only living so that he could forge the perfect blade to end his misery. As you can probably tell, I am heavily in the favor of Seo's approach, but I will admit that this approach is extremely hard to enact, optimistic, and also very idealistic. But the thing is, in return for opening up and being vulnerable, you have everything to gain, since you're not constantly avoiding others and fleeing from anything that could remotely cause you harm. Yes, it's not always gonna work out, but that's just life, and Seo understands this as he suffers life to its fullest. With that having been said, let me know what you guys think, take care of yourselves, and I'll see you guys in the next video.